fancy optics and whatnot, but this is essentially the same thing. Not quite as beat up as that one. I've got that thing's granddaddy, actually dad, right here. This is it's a roller lock system. All right, this is a set me. Got quite a bit of experience with shotguns. It's always fun, like when you rack it and then you catch it, especially if you're doing it in front of a student. And then I always say, oh, that feels so cool when I catch it to kind of. Hey folks, I'm Paul Meixner. I'm a filmmaker and weapons and tactics instructor. I'm currently working at Modern Warriors Nashville as a firearms instructor, and today you and I are going to watch Call of Duty Black Ops 6 footage and talk about their weapons. All right, so the Stryder 22 isn't a super effective self-defense or combat caliber. That being said, the #1 caliber to kill people in the United States, strangely enough, is 22. And I think that's just due to how much of it is available. Now, the CIA actually has like a little Ruger Mark 22 that they would use for assassinations. It was like integrally suppressed and it used subsonics. And the Israeli military uses a suppressed 22, I believe it's a Ruger 1022, they use for riot control. You know, I'm not saying it's a good idea or not a good idea, but it is 22 caliber is being used by militaries. One thing that I think is wise for a 22 for like a reconnaissance team or an assault team is taking out street lights, taking out any security lights, or this sounds horrible, but you know, dogs that alert to your presence if you're about to do a raid and they got guard dogs and you have a suppressed 22 that makes a lot less noise than a 5.56 gun. Also, you can carry a lot of 22 with you. Yes! So this is kind of not what it looks like in real life, but this is based off of the USP-45, the HK USP-45, and that's actually the very first handgun I ever owned, and did a lot of security work with that thing and a lot of shooting with it. It's probably one of my favorite handguns in the world, and it is the most tested handgun in the world. If you were gonna go to Mars, you'd wanna take a USP, because the thing's never gonna break. It's always gonna work. Those things are awesome. Also, if you're a movie fan, that's what Tom Cruise uses in Collateral. There we go. Just a good old M4. Got a little bit of experience with those things. Now, if you notice this, it's got the built-in carry handle. Hashtag carry handle gang. These things are great. They were the earlier variants, and then later we get a little more advanced with things like fancy optics and whatnot. But this is essentially the same thing. Not quite as beat up as that one, but carry handles are fun. Oh, okay. So I've got that thing's granddaddy, actually dad, right here. This is it's a roller lock system. All right, this is a set me, and then H&K and a Spanish arms company that I forget the name off the top of my head. I think it was a National Armory, went together and developed this weapon system, and then they made a smaller version shooting 5.56, and that's what you have there. They're a ton of fun to shoot, but the controls are still a little bit older. Then that later dropped it down to 9mm, and that became the infamous MP5. So these things are fun. Oh, and then a downside on that thing too is there's no last round hold open. So you saw that part there. You actually you gotta slap it once it's empty. You gotta pull the bolt back, pop it up, put a new magazine in, slap it to get it back into action. All right, the AS Val, let's check this out. So this looks like the VSK or the VSS. This looks more like the VSS. Now this is a newer-ish Russian firearm and actually I think I have, look at this chonky boy. You see this? Look at this little fatty. This is the bullet. I don't have that gun. I've never handled that gun, but I do have the bullet that thing shoots. Close in combat, they say that, you know, you could probably be accurate out to 200. They say with a good optic, well, at least the VSK, that looks like the VSS, can be accurate out to 400 meters, but man, this is a fat bullet and it's gonna be dropping quite a bit. So kind of close in work, it'd be a good law enforcement, sniper rifle, urban combat kind of thing. They're pretty neat looking. All right, so I'm gonna say from looking at this video that this thing does not exist in real life. Now that magazine up front, that's Helico magazine, those exist. They make them for AKs. They also make it for this Calico. We got one that goes on the top of the Calico. That was a big 80s machine pistol type thing. So the reason I don't think that's real is there's a button in the back for like AK style weapons where you take the dust cover off, but I don't see where the dust cover would separate on there. So I think that thing might be made up, but it's pretty cool looking. Okay, I am very familiar with these. Quite a bit of experience with, oh, that was fancy. Got quite a bit of experience with shotguns. It's always fun, like when you rack it and then you catch it, especially if you're doing it in front of the students. And then I always say, "Oh, I feel so cool when I catch it." To kind of, there's some liberties taken here, and you know, get me in the comments. I think this is modeled after a Mossberg 500, Mossberg 590, and they have, I don't have any of those. I've got my good old 870 sitting here, and so the Mossbergs have a safety back here, but you push it up or pull it down. You don't go side to side. So I haven't seen that before. The 870s, on the other hand, they're right here. The crossbar, the Winchesters are like that as well. So now the ghost rings on top, the heat shield. Not only does the heat shield make it look cool, but it shields you from the heat of a lot of rapid fire. Ghost rings are a must. I am a big fan of ghost rings on a shotgun, and with modern optics, why not throw a little red dot on there too? I kick myself every day for not ordering this from the factory. It's the only bell and whistle I didn't get this thing with in 2005. I just got home from Iraq. I said to my buddy Tom as we're driving around Madison, Wisconsin, "Hey man, you want to go buy shotguns?" He's like, "Yeah." So we did, and I bought that shotgun right there. Shotguns are super effective. I've got a lot of experience. Well, I don't know about a lot. I've got a decent amount of experience using shotguns overseas, mostly for opening doors and a lot of training opening doors. So this looks an awful lot like a Bravo 240 or a chopped Bravo 240. I got to monkey with one last year at SHOT Show from Ohio Ordnance. I would have loved to have a shorter 240 with my time in. What I'm laughing about is it looks like a wood stock, and I've never ever seen one of these things with a wood stock before. Also, these things are heavy. Funny story about the Bravo 240. When I was at infantry school learning mount, urban combat training, and how to walk with the rifle and everything, if you're just running a rifle and you've never done it before, your muscles kind of get sore because you're in all these weird positions you've never been in. But I had to have some minor surgery done on my foot the day everybody's doing that training. So I got up super early, went to the hospital, showed up, and all the rifles were already handed out to everybody. So they gave me a 240 Bravo. And so I got to learn how to do that with a machine gun that weighed several more pounds than everybody else's super lightweight fancy M16s, and that was fun. That was a fun day. All right, looks like a Russian bullpup. Looks to be 7.62 from the angle of that magazine, 7.62 by 3.9. I know they have bullpups. I've never messed with them before. Oh, that's a big boy. That magazine was big. That might have been a 7.62 by 5.4, which I don't know why you'd have that in a bullpup, but okay. Oh, big chonky boy, big high-powered rifle. So I couldn't name what model this is modeled after, but there are a lot of high-powered rifles with polymer stock like that. It's like a good optic. Kind of looks like a is it the EOTech Voodoo? Kind of looks like something like that on the outside. The recoil looks very realistic to me. I feel like it'd be kicking me back like that. It looked like a realistic muzzle device. Oh goodness. All right, I'm a big fan of rocket launchers and missile launchers. Decent amount of experience with a few of these. Now, what's interesting about this, man, I don't know if something like this exists in real life where you throw a canister underneath it and then you shoot it and then you put another. I haven't ever seen anything like that before, but it certainly looks cool. Aesthetically, it looks realistic. So we'll just say, heck yeah. Got electrical tape running down it and everything. All right, cool. Good old M203. Yeah, those things are fun, very effective. They've moved on to a slightly more modern system that like it slides open to the side now. They're super effective. So this is my little this is actually a 37mm flare launcher, but it's essentially the same thing. That's a 40mm grenade launcher. This is a 37mm flare launcher. We started with the M79 Bloop gun. This is kind of a lesser expensive knockoff of that. That's what I call the TAC 79. But yeah, it's just an aluminum tube. That's it. It's just a heavy-duty aluminum tube. You have a firing pin that comes out. Bloop. That's what it sounds like. Boom. And those rounds, so many rotations will then arm it. So that way it doesn't blow up right in front of you. Once it impacts, it goes, and you can get, even for these 37, you can get pretty much everything except for HE, which is high explosive, where you can do chalk rounds, you can do marking, where these grenade launchers, whether it's, I believe, that 30mm Russian one or that 40mm, they're great with smoke, sending out signals, sending out distraction, screening for, we don't retreat, we tactically withdraw, regroup, and then go attack. Star clusters, there's all sorts of fun stuff. You can launch CS gas out of them. They're super effective tool to have in your tool bag. All right, the M67 frag grenade. So funny story about frag grenades is in the movies growing up, you know, in the 80s and 90s, you'd hear Bruce Willis or John McClane with his Beretta, and it'd sound like a howitzer because of all that wonderful sound design. The one thing that is the opposite of that is hand grenades. That's also the first time in infantry school they're nice to you. They're like super friendly because they don't want you to blow them up. So when you go down there for hand grenade training, you know, you get up super early, it's still like dark out, and I went, you know, it's still cold out at Fort Benning at the time, and you're all walking up and everybody's kind of nervous, and you hear this like, and rumbling, you feel the ground move. You're like, wait, what was that? And then you like get behind this brick wall and you're ready to go in the bunker. Like, that's a hand grenade? It's like this big, that's a hand grenade? And then when you get in the pit with the, cause they don't, I think the Marines you're with drill instructors, we don't have our drill sergeants with us. We have like cadre teaching. You jump in the pit and some dude's like, hey man, where you from? You're like, what? Somebody's not screaming at you and calling you worthless and swearing at you. So it was kind of startling. And then yeah, man, when you throw your first hand grenade, that's a lot of power in a small package. And they're wonderful to have. C4, super useful explosive for all sorts of things. You can use a little bit, you can use a lot. Now again, just an explosion in itself is kind of difficult to stop threats, but when you combine it with certain things, you can make shape charges, you can open up doors, really big doors. You can also heat your C rations with it. People used to do that in Vietnam. They used to take a tiny little ball of C4 and light it on fire. And it wouldn't blow up because you also need compression in order for an explosion. So there are horror stories of people putting out their little ball of C4 by stomping on it and then blowing off part of their foot. So maybe don't do that. But you can heat your C rations with C4 if you're careful. I love cocktail. All right. This is a super effective makeshift weapon. Now, when I say super effective, I mean you're lighting stuff on fire. Things can be put out on fire. There's a lot of problems with this. If you drop it, if you break it, sometimes if you don't make it right, you could light yourself on fire. But if you don't have a lot of stuff, hey man, it's definitely something. And it's been used for a very long time. All right, folks, that was a lot of stuff. That was a lot of stuff in a short period of time. What are some of my favorite things? I want to hear what some of your favorites were. I mean, I got to go with the classic carry handle M4. It's really grown on me. When I was younger, I wanted, you know, put all the cool fancy stuff on it, but like there's something just classic about a carry handle M4. And the USP. I'm going to say the USP. Give me a couple frags, a couple smokes, a USP, and the standard M4, and it's going to be a good day. Maybe a bad day for someone else. It's going to be a good day for me. Hey, folks, if you ever want to take a lesson from me and you're in Nashville, go ahead and hit up Modern Warriors. If you want to hear any more about my hilarious hijinks, check out Thunderpunk Radio on YouTube. Looking forward to seeing y'all next time.